My fellow collectors, today I get to talk about and show you the series that really got me back into numismatics. You know, I started out as a kid collecting coins, but really what got me back into numismatics in a big way was when I attended a coin show when I was in my early 20s, and I came across this Kennedy half dollar, early Kennedy half dollar that I just fell in love with. And that's where I really got going on the Kennedy and Franklins, because they were from the same era. We're talking about the 1950 era, beginning 1950 up into the 1970s, and then you get into the 1980s, you're in the modern era. So it's this 1950 to say 1980 period that's I really focused on over the last few decades. And today I have for you one of the most emotionally charged, historically significant, and visually stunning silver coins ever struck by the United States Mint. It's the inaugural year of the Kennedy half dollar, the 1964 Kennedy half dollar. It was struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver Mint. And it was the only year that this coin was struck for commerce on a 90% silver planchet. 1964, that's the only year. 1965, with the rising cost of silver, they reduced the silver content to 40%. As silver continued to rise, 1971, they removed all the silver from the planchet entirely. Now, this coin was so popular because it came out just months after President John F. Kennedy's tragic assassination in November of 1963. The entire nation witnessed this event. It was the first real major tragedy in the history of TV, where the entire nation was able to participate and watch as the events unfolded in late 1963 after his assassination. And so when the coin came out, everybody, collectors and non-collectors alike, wanted one of these 1964 Kennedy half dollars as a memento. Now, the Mint originally planned to strike like 91 million of these coins, which was a large mintage for a half dollar. That was a very high mintage. So they struck them, they released them in late March of 1964, and all the coins quickly disappeared. None of them were in circulation. Well, people were just hoarding the coins, taking them as mementos, as keepsakes, remembrances. And I did the same thing when I was just a kid. I got my first Kennedy half dollar in change, and I said, wow, and I put it away. So all these coins were disappearing. The Mint increased the mintage to 150 million, still no Kennedy half dollars. They increased the mintage further to 250 million, still no Kennedy half dollars. They took the unprecedented step of asking Congress if they can continue to strike the 1964 Kennedy into the year 1965. And they got permission to do that. So you had this interesting situation where this 1964 Kennedy struck on a 90% silver planchet was still being struck in 1965. And in that very same year, the 1965 Kennedy was being struck as well, but on a 40% silver planchet. Well, eventually, they struck over 400 million 1964 Kennedys. Philadelphia Mint struck 273 million, Denver Mint struck 156 million. So you figure this should be a real common, easy coin to find in gem condition. Such is not the case. The 64 P&D Kennedys, it's a scarce coin in MS65, but it gets to be really rare in any grade above that. And I've got this chart here. These are all the coins graded by NGC, and I compared the 64 P&D Kennedy half dollars to the Walking Liberty half dollars from 1941 to 1947, where I have the rarest Walking Liberty half dollar from that era. The 1941S is the rarest to find in gem high-grade condition. And then I also have the more common dates, the 43P, 46D. And I want you to see in this comparison. Now, in 6.5 condition, the 64P is more common than any of those other coins you see on the page. But the 64D is right in line with those two walkers, and it is indeed a little bit tougher to find in 6.5 condition. But the gap grows as you go up in grade. When you get up into the 6.6 grade, you could see that the 64P becomes very competitive in rarity with some of those walkers. And the 64D is far rarer than two of those three Walking Liberty half dollars in mint state 66. And then you get into the 6-7 grade, and the 64P is on par with the 46D in rarity, and is in fact much rarer than the 43P. And the 64D, the only coin tougher is the 41S in 6-7. Now 41S in 6-7 is about a $20,000 coin. And a 41S in MS66 is a $2,000 to $3,000 coin, just to give you some reference points. What these numbers don't tell you also is that most of these early Kennedys in high grade are pretty unattractive. Sasha's got several here that I have acquired just for educational purposes. These are not the kind of coins I choose to place with clients. I always stress eye appeal, quality, rarity when it comes to buying coins. They have to have eye appeal. The coins I'm offering today have incredible eye appeal. They're beautiful, brilliant specimens. Unlike these Kennedys that Sasha's showing you right now, even though they're gem 6.5s and 6.6s, you can see the typical kind of toning you see on these. They're not attractive. Now, the only Kennedy half dollars that go into a signature series holder, Kennedy holder, are the Kennedy half dollars that have really exceptional eye appeal and are very conservatively graded. And I want you to take a look at these coins. Take a look at these MS65s. This is really, really nice. I mean, for a Kennedy half dollar, I want you to see how they typically look. You can see a lot of little scratches all over the coin in back of his head. Just scratches, a lot of scratches. I'm going to show you a couple more. These are more obvious. You know, these are large coins, and you have a large, broad portrait that is really makes an easy target for other coins when they're struck, ejected from the die press, falling into the bins, one coin falling on another, and then they go through coin counting machines, they're dumped into bags. Look at the deep cut there by the T in Liberty. Typical large marks you'll see on Kennedy half dollars. The larger the coin, the more serious the marks. For example, if you look at 1964 quarters, you'll see marks, but they won't be as severe because the quarters are smaller, lighter planchets. And the dimes, smaller and lighter still. You won't find those kind of marks, but these half dollars are large, heavy coins. To give you some idea of how tough it is to get a nice 65 Kennedy half dollar from this year, we were most fortunate, it was about 5 or 6 years ago. We got our hands on the first bag of Kennedy half dollars ever released by the United States Mint. It was dated March 19th, 1964. Here's a picture of the bag. And Mark Salzberg, who was then president of NGC at the time, did a special video where he opened up the bag, showing us the contents of all the coins. Now there's 2,000 coins in the bag, struck and released from the Denver Mint, 2,000 coins. We had all the coins graded. Now these were coins, folks, that had for decades just been sitting in this pail for decades. They hadn't gone from one show to another where the bag was being thrown around. It was sitting in somebody's closet or vault somewhere for decades. Sedentary. And yet, when we had all the coins graded, here are the results. When you look at the pie chart, this is out of 2,000 coins. That big blue area are all the coins that graded between MS60 and MS62. Over half the coins in the bag, 52%. 18% graded MS63, 23% graded MS64, 7%, or about 140 coins, graded MS65. And it says 0% there, but actually 3 coins graded MS66. 3 coins, which is less than 1%, graded MS66 out of the bag of 2,000. And this was a cherry bag that had been in somebody's closet that would have the finest quality specimens. And there were no 6.7s. So this will give you some appreciation for the next coins you're about to see, the MS66s and the MS67s. Take a look at these. Virtual perfection. I don't remember the last time I pulled a Kennedy half dollar from this year from an original roll that was as clean as the coin you're looking at. It's amazing. Finally, let's go to the 6.7s. This is the highest grade. I've never handled a brilliant Kennedy in MS68. This is incredible. To find a Mint State Kennedy, coin was ejected into a bin, gone through coin counting machines, dumped into bags, and how one survives, as you can see from our bag. There were only 3 6.6s in the entire bag. There were no coins like this. It's just amazing to find it so mark-free. I mean, this is a real thrill. If you've looked at as many Mint State Kennedy halves as I have, folks, from this early era, you will really appreciate this coin. Because I've looked at millions of them, and I've gone through thousands and thousands of rolls. So I have the deepest appreciation for what you're looking at. And then we have a D Mint. Now the D Mint is the rare of the two, only 125 total by NGC. Now in Signature Series, I've only certified 23 in 6.7. This is incredible. I mean, this is as good as it gets. Now you see dealers selling unattractive tone specimens in 6.5 of the 64P for $125, $150. I've got the 64Ps in MS65 for $99. The 64Ds for only $149. But get the pair, because if you get the pair, you can get both for only $219. $219 for the 64P and D. Now if you jump up to the 6.6, the 6.6 and the 6.7s, if you can swing those, this is what I most highly recommend, because this is where these coins are really tough, especially in brilliant condition. And I have them at a great price. The 64P by itself is $249. And the 64D, again, a very tough coin, much rarer than some of those walkers. The 64D is only $479, but if you get the pair, you can get both for only $629 in MS66 condition. Now the ultimate, these monster coins, these wonder coins, these coins that should not exist. For the record, I have never personally found a 64D in an original roll that was an MS67. The 64P in MS67, the top of the line, is only $1,395. Or you could take the 2-payment option, half down today of $697.50. The 64D is only $1,995 in this beautiful, brilliant condition. A coin that's almost as rare as that Walking Liberty half in brilliant condition. Because again, most of the 64Ds and MS67 have unattractive toning. Very few are fully brilliant as the coin you are looking at today. But the best deal of all is the 2-coin set. You get quite a savings if you get both, because I have both for only $2,995. Or the 2-payment option, put half down today of $1,497.50. With one of these coins, you will get a free copy of my guidebook to Franklin and Kennedy half dollars. The 4th edition, where I talk a lot about the 64P and D. Briefly on the 64D, where I talk about the rarity of this coin. The 64D, more elusive than the 64P in these higher Mint State grades. 6.6 coins are scarce. You get to the 6.7 grade, and they're extremely difficult. They are rare, from anywhere from $1,600 to $4,000 and more for really, really nice specimens. Every one of these is in my Signature Series holder. Not only does NGC first grade the coins with their top team of graders, but then I review it. And it's got to pass my gauntlet to go into this pedigree holder. The Kennedy Signature Series holder, a picture of President Kennedy on the obverse with that famous phrase, "We choose to go to the moon." And you see the Apollo astronaut at the top there, the Saturn V rocket. And then on the reverse of the coin, great picture of the astronaut on the moon with the American flag. I have a limited number of these coins in 6.6 and 6.7 grade. Call in now for these. I have a very limited number. I've got about 75 each of the 65s. But the 66s and 67s in beautiful, brilliant condition like this are really, really tough. They're a great, great opportunity to get something in the half-dollar series from the 20th century. Again, 1964, the first year of the Kennedy half-dollar, the only year these were struck for commerce on a 90% silver planchet. This is an historic coin, and to get these finest known specimens struck for commerce in this condition, this is a dream come true as a collector. So I hope you can take advantage of it. My fellow collectors, this is an exciting, exciting set to acquire, something you really can be very, very proud of. Thanks for watching.